Hi, my name is Marco Bronzini. I'm a graduate of the Royal Academy of Arts in London, England. And welcome to my channel, Marco Bronzini Art School and Studio. Today we're going to carry on with the painting that's behind me. I hope you had a chance to, if you look at the part one of this video, I hope you had the chance to look at the fauves that I mentioned, the painters. Again, it's spelled F-A-U-V-E-S. They were a wonderful painter with really bright colors. So today we're going on in that style. Okay, so from last week, I refreshed my palette. I put on some permanent green right here, cerulean blue, ultramarine, cad orange, cad red light, some raw sienna. This is raw sienna light, but it's the same thing, raw sienna. Cad yellow light, and this is my alizarin crimson. You can put permanent rose as well. And this is titanium white. And today I'm using linseed oil because it's the last day, so it doesn't matter if it dries slower. So linseed oil. Okay, so here's our reference again, a couple of fishing boats with some beautiful reflections. This is going to be gorgeous. So today we're adding a little bit more paint there throughout, correcting a couple of things on there, but essentially keeping the same style going on, really bold colors, which is the whole point of the painting. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to retouch this line in here, and I'm going to put some cad orange, some yellow here, and I'm going to review that top line there. Start right in here. I'm going to bring it all the way to this, right there, like this. And now I'm going to reintroduce the red line we talked about last week. So it starts back in here, like this. Like that. A bit more red. Kind of stops right in here. And it fades back a little bit in here like this, so just touch like that. And on this side, of course, it's in the shade, so it's just a little bit darker, still red, but a little bit deeper. It starts right in here. And there's that wonderful curve to it, like this, and it just disappears back there, just like that. All right, we're gonna go back into the purple now. So I'm gonna mix some ultramarine, some crimson, some white. Okay. Just get the sunlight, the effect of sunlight in the shadow. Something here as well. Very simple, very simple. Okay, the inside of the boat right in here, just to show we're actually inside the boat. A few strokes of colors, well placed, goes a long way. And then there's the other side in here, just the red. Right in here. And all these colors, of course, are going to bounce off in here. So the little bit of the red in here, you can make it a little bit darker because what's being reflected is always a little bit darker. So now I'm going to put up some of this red right there, just bounce it off. And I'm going to start reviewing some of the back of the boat, cleaning up a little bit in there as well with a smaller brush. Okay, without over cleaning, just a couple of things on that just to reintroduce the shape of the boat right in there. A couple of lines in there. Sunlight, that's what it's all about. A couple of strokes in here as well. No detail. There's a shadow right there, which is rather good, right in here. Gives it the whole shape of the boat. Right, and now we got the inside of the boat here, pretty well established. I'm going to return to that purple now. All right, reestablish that shadow one more time. Has an interesting shape, kind of this way, kind of a couple of breaks there, a little touch in here. And there's a little bit of a shadow right in there. Really creates the inside of the boat a little bit better. And I'm going to grade down in here a little bit there. That gives you the whole shape of the boat without actually drawing any detail. And of course, all my videos, again, I mentioned again, do this in your own way. All I'm showing you is the process. You just do it your own way, your own style. Painting truly is like handwriting. Everyone has their own touch. So don't try to copy me, don't try to copy anybody, just do it your own way. I mean, I tell my students every day, just paint in your own style. There's no point you copying somebody unless you want to do a study of something, but otherwise it's pointless. I'm not a how-to painter. I know you know that by now. I'm not going to tell you, I mean, this is how you paint a boat, this is how you paint a bird, this is how you paint, water, nothing like that. But the process is important. You have to understand the process, which is how you start a painting from start to finish. All right, we're going to leave that boat alone for the moment. We're going to move to the other one now. Okay, so on this boat, we're going to reestablish the light. So sort of grayish color, a little bit of light there and there, right in here. It's a little bit duller than the other boat, but if anything, it'll make this boat pop out a bit better. So they complement each other, which is very good. Right there, and then I want the bottom to be even whiter right in here. Tilt that down just a little bit, like this. And the inside of the boat, the other side right there, it's kind of this way, right in there. And all this is in the shade, so we're going to go back to the purple in there. So the purplish color. Because all this is in the shade. Right in there. Okay. So continuation of this. This is all in the shadow right in here. There. And then the reflection, of course, picks up that color as well. So we're going to put some of this. Kind of turns almost green in there. Slap that on. And then we have the blue. A reflection right in here. The distortion of the water on the color is beautiful right in here. Right in there, a little bit in there. Don't be scared of handling paint. Put a lot of paint, regardless of your style. All right, and then a little bit, this is the bottom of the boat right there. Okay, there's a couple of things inside here, so we're going to do just a few little indication of stuff. It doesn't have to be anything specific. Just a couple of things in here, just to give an impression of what's there. We don't want to draw anything specific. There. Okay, we're going to go back in the water now. We're going to use different blues, some ultramarine, some crimson. And we're going to go back all over the place, essentially. Starting back in here. This is the ceruleum with a little bit of raw sienna. And there's some nice breaks in that as well. And of course, the reflection from the building in the distance. So that plays a role as well. So we're going to put a little bit of that in. Again, nothing specific. Don't worry about going over the masts like I'm doing. No big deal. We're painting around there. I'm gonna make a nice bunch of strokes in there. As I mentioned before, a painting is a different animal than a photograph. So don't try to think, oh, this is not a photograph. No, it's not a photograph. We're trying to do a painting here. And the reference, by the way, is a photograph. Somebody sent me a comment, say, who's the artist on your reference? And I had to say, I don't copy other artists. So this is just a photograph and not a painting. And it's a good photograph too, which can use to make a really good painting. All right, so here, I'm going to clean around that boat right in there as well. This one. Just a little to establish what the side of the boat actually is. Right in there as well. In the process, just clean up the edges if you want to. Right there. And then quickly, I'm going to come back in front in here with a slightly bigger brush, the ultramarine, the permanent green, and I'm going to start putting some colors right in here. Lots of paint, again, regardless of your style. There's a lot of movement in there. It gets kind of dark against the wall, so that's what we want to do. Wonderful contrast against the water. A little bit in here as well, a little bit in there. And then we get a little bit lighter as we go out. Clean up a little bit around here too, as the water creates all this wonderful shape for us, like this. And then back in here, we'll go back to the ceruleum. As the color changes as you go up. It gives it depth. That's what it does. Now in the process, we can clean up around that a little bit. Don't over clean. Remember, this is a painting. Like this. A couple of things you need to get right here. The angle of the boat in here. So now we come in with the water and create the angle right there. Okay, we need to bounce that beautiful light in here into the water. So it has a kind of a yellowish, greenish cast to it, but it's rather important. So I'm going to put it right in there. Picks up all that wonderful light, and the distortion, of course, again, of the water is gorgeous. Right there. And the back of the boat is okay right there. Make that one a little bit. You gotta be careful not to go like this, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The curves are very, very specific in the shape they create. So try to imitate that best you can. Again, regardless of your style. And I'm going to reintroduce some color in there. I think this is looking pretty good. A bit more light back in here. And this boat I can clean up a little bit there, but I like to do a couple more things on it. Some shadow in the blue right here, because there's reflective light on it, so it's picking up all kinds of colors in that. So that's all in the shade. And this light here needs to pick up some colors as well. That line right there. So it's in a shady here, but here it's in a light. So it's going to pick up a little bit of a blue right here, just like that, just to pick up some sunlight on it. It includes the whole thing. So now we got this in the shadow and this in the light. Okay, I'm going to review the water because that's too light. On day one is fine, but now we're refining the color. So we need to be a little bit deeper, and then in the process, just refine some of those wonderful waves right there. Make it really wavy right here. Nice. Same thing on this side. Just pick up some things on there. A couple of touches in here. But that was just too bright. And then also I'm going to cut into that boat right in here. This is very important, right there. And that gives the whole shape of the boat there. And then we're going to come back one more time against it. So bear with me. Right there. Then we're going to come in with a darker color. And I'm going to reintroduce the reflection from the boat, which is right in here. That actually disappears. I'm discovering this at the same time as you are. This comes in right in there. And then it cuts right in here and it comes right against that, like that. There. And then we're going to, one more shot in here. Right there. And then we got the whole side of the boat pretty well established right there. And of course, now we have another color because there's always another color, right? Remember from my previous videos, there's always another color. So there's a color here, but now we're going to get a little bit of a different value in there, just a touch. Doesn't have to be very bright, doesn't have to be very dark. Just a variation of that color right there, the reflection. A little bit in here as well, some green there. There. And same thing in here. I will add a couple of things in there. Just because. Right in here, another value. Maybe a little bit of the red bouncing off. Some green. There. And then we're going to clean up the side of the boat right here. One last time. There. Like this. Pick up a few things of color there. Back to the ceruleum. Could put some values in here. Bigger strokes here, smaller strokes here, until we get to the end, when it's essentially just a long, big stroke that represents an entire area. You know what I mean. Clean up a bit in there. Yeah. All right, and then we're going to go back one more time to these buildings. And then, the painting is coming along very nicely. Okay, let's return to the building one more time, and then we can be almost done with this painting. So there's a few little colors in here, nothing special again, but the paint, it's good there. We need to introduce all that. And again, because the painting is bright, the rule still applies. The colors back there should be a little cooler than what's in front. So you can put a little bit of green in there, a little bit of purple in your building. When they are kind of yellowish color, there's a bit of green as well in there. Maybe some trees in the distance, right in here. And there's one that's a little whiter, which is nice. So we can put a little bit of a brighter color, like maybe right in here. And we can reintroduce some windows on that in a minute. In fact, let's do that right now. Just a few little things there. So a few things over here. Some trees in the distance, maybe back in here. A dock right there. So a few little things in here. Maybe some boats in the distance there, so that might be fun to do. Just a few lines like that to establish distance and create an effect of, it looks busy without doing actually anything specific, I should say. And then we're going to pick up some reflection in there. And same thing with the building, reflecting in the water. Just a little bit of reflection right here, there. Nothing much, just an impression. Maybe a couple of roofs there in the distance. I can't quite make out, which is fine. A few little windows, so we know we're looking at buildings. There. There. I'm going to go back to the masts in a minute, so we're going to do that in about a couple of minutes. And then maybe put a bit of sky in there, maybe. Let's see what the painting requires. The painting is the boss. Let's see what it says. All right, let's reestablish the masts, I should say. The kind of reddish cast to them. Yeah. Some light on them too. Stops right there, and it goes the shadow from the master. That's going to be fun to do. Can't wait to do that. Okay, the other one seems to be a little bit more sort of yellowish. There. And you go over the brush strokes so you can clean up. So this one is in front, so make sure that's in front of the other one. And they all go out of the canvas, which is really good for the composition. Very nice. Right, this one goes out in here and we'll go right there. Be careful not to end on a corner like that. We never want to do that. Never in a corner, okay? That's weak. Makes the painting look weak. We clean up this one a little bit in here. Same thing, out of the painting. There's one right there. This one's a bit of orange on it, so that's good. Yeah, I like the shadow that, as I mentioned before, so I'm going to go into my ultramarine and my purple and create a good shadow from the masts on the boat. So it follows the boat this way, of course, like that, and it follows it up here too. So the shadow changes color. If it falls on this, as a grayish color. If it falls on that, as more of a reddish color. So that's very important. And then, of course, again, we put another color inside. It's never one color. There's always another color. Right here. And then in the orange, we can put a little touch of orange in it, just like that. Just doesn't look like much, but it makes a big difference. Trust me. All right, I'm going to establish that rope now I got a little brush there, and I'm going to do it in the one single stroke. So coming from here, it's going to end right in there, just like this. And now you can re-establish that a little thicker here. There, that's all you need. And then there's a couple of ropes on the boat, which actually are good. We need to introduce those. So there's one that comes down from here that ends right there. So it comes down from the top of the mast, obviously. And it kind of does this. There's a couple of them in here. It doesn't have to be perfect, just little strokes of colors. Here. There's a couple of them right in here. It just adds to the painting without doing anything special. All right, I'm gonna make them a little bit darker. It's a little bit too light. Right there. Yeah, yeah. And this one as well. I don't like that. It's just too bright for the painting. Right in here. All right. You notice there's a third boat in here, but the painting doesn't need that. So I'm just not going to do it. The painting is not in need of a third boat. It actually looks pretty good without it. I'm going to put some water in here just to clean up a little bit there. I think I might put a bit of sky there. Let's just try that. And if it's no good, we'll just get rid of it. How about that? So it's a very pale color. Kind of sits back in here. Almost reflects the water and vice versa, which might be nice for the painting. Let's just see. Let me do it and then I'll decide. There. A couple of touches in here. A straight line, of course, creates a building as well, and more fuzzy, then we got trees. But I think it might be nice to have, let me see. Let's look at that. Yeah, actually looks very good. So we're going to keep it. We're going to keep it. Make it a little bit lighter there and there, but I think that looks good. So this is poetic license, you know. Some things you can remove, some things you can keep. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the foreground and establish that properly. So I mix some my raw sienna light in here, a bit of green. It's an old color, but it's in a shade, so it doesn't. You don't want it to jump out of everything, in front of everything rather. But it needs to be there. It's kind of sharp, which is good right there, like that. And then a couple of things in here. Maybe a few more breaks inside. But nothing much. We don't want it overloaded with details. Right. I want to review a little bit of the front of the boat here. Not quite happy with that. And then I think we're just about finished. Just clean that up a little bit more with a few twists and turns in there, which is nice with the sunlight. Make it a little sharper in here too. A couple of touches in here. The more variations you have, the better. Like this. Oh, that shape is wrong. Let me read that shape one more time. I want the boat to go in here. That curve is off, so it should be more this way, like that. Like this. Much better. Let me see. I think we're in good shape. I think we're going to call it quits. You got the idea. Again, I encourage you to look at those FOVs. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. They're a wonderful group of artists that worked between the years of 1900, 1901 to 1905 or 6. It's very short-lived, but we're breaking away from the Impressionists, breaking from the tradition, and really going. The fauves means the wild beasts in French. So they were called the wild beasts because people thought, oh, what is that? But they were really gorgeous. And you recognize the early Matisse, early Braque, Derain, Dufy, you know, the big boys, before they became who they became later on. They all started with that small movement, which is wonderful. So I encourage you to look at that, the fauves. I did a whole series on it, and if this video does well again, like part 1 did, I'm going to do a few more of those because they're very exciting. So I thank you for joining me and enjoy the video, and I'll see you soon. I'm just going to add the reflection of the masts, which is very important. So it's right in here. And all kinds of distortion in the water. And it kind of disappears back in here. One more little thing. There.